What am I supposed to talk about? If you don't want me, what am I supposed to talk?
Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 2. I'll come to you first, Neil, the Irish podcaster, Villa fan for the Love of McGrath. It's so frustrating, wasn't it, today?
It's beyond frustrating because 2 goals in 3 minutes. It's just, you can't put words in it, and I've kind of almost given up getting overly angry. I could see a lot of positives up until they scored. Obviously, everybody could, and that's the joy of being a Villa fan. You can see the positives, you can see what's happening, but I think that it's just so deflating that there is no way that you can change that mentality from a team that when they're being put out to play nine in front of the ball, or 9 behind the ball, should I say, that if you lose 2 in 3 minutes, you just can't respond to that. It was like an international game. It's like a game of maybe England versus or Ireland, even sometimes England versus Ireland, maybe at times. But against one of the smaller teams, maybe in Europe, that it's just backs to the wall stuff from Villa. We got our goal, and then it's just very difficult to kind of turn it on after that, and to kind of get into that attacking mindset. And I just don't really know what to say about it after that. Like after the second goal was scored, it was just abject, kind of just waiting for the final whistle.
Jacob, of course, editor and producer for the Villa View. You and I have experienced lots of emotions following full time. Talking on the starting 11, though, no changes. Were you surprised by that at all?
Yeah, I was a little, because there was talk of Smith obviously going 2 up top, and I was confident that he actually might have done it. But I feel like it's now or never, really. I think so games are starting to run out. I think it would have been a good chance to put 2 up top, test it in a game that we're not really supposed to win, and then if it worked, we could have took it to Newcastle then in the week. But I'm just not sure about the midfield three at the moment either. I think Connor and Louise just sit sometimes. They just watch the game go by. And I don't think McGinn's fit either yet. The first few games, it doesn't look fit. I'm not sure if you see it the same.
Let's talk about the midfielders then. Both teams possess terrier-like midfielders in N'Golo Kante for Chelsea and John McGinn for Villa when they're both fit. Neil, McGinn didn't influence the game a lot due to the fact he's only just come back, but for Kante, for Chelsea's part, he was very influential for the Blues, wasn't he?
Yeah, he did what he always does. Patrols in front of the back two, fouled Grealish there at the end, maybe I think 3 or 4 times in a row. Yeah. He's always been that guy, and he's that guy that when he does his job well, you win championships, and you get up the table. Unsung heroes like Kante are almost like Chelsea need to have one, even harking back to the days of Makelele. And talking about McGinn as well, I know it's sacrilege because I absolutely adore John McGinn, and even before the season, I was talking about him as dark horse for maybe being in the PFA Team of the Year, which he obviously won't be at this stage, but he's just not ready to start. I think he touched the ball 3 times today. He had only 7 touches of the ball against Sheffield United, and of those 7 touches, I think he had only 4 of those where there was passes that actually went on target. He just hasn't affected either game. And that's not an indictment on him as a player. It's just where he is fitness-wise and coming back from injury, and he's been thrust into the limelight straight away. And I just don't think he's there yet. And the statistics kind of show it. Although he did pop up in the box and he got a header. He got a nice glancing header in the first half. And I thought he should have maybe hit the target with that one. But he did show, at times he shows that he's got that terrier mentality back again. But I think maybe it might be time to maybe bring him off as a change of pace player, bring him on, should I say, as a change of pace player against Newcastle, and see what we can do maybe with a different formation from the start. So if you were to change the formation, I think for the moment I might be dropping him just from the amount of touches and what he's done in the game so far.
Yes, so Jacob, let's go from the midfield back to the goalkeeper. Of course, Nyland played his second game today in claret and blue. He started the game off really well, didn't he? Of course, Mason Mount's powerful shot, and he parried it away really well.
Yeah, he did do well. I think it would have knocked anyone what happened the other day against Sheffield United. I am looking forward to when Heaton comes back. I don't expect it to be this season, but I think it starts from the back with the confidence. Really, I think if we don't trust our keeper that much, I don't think our defence will improve that much either. So I'm not sure really, but I just think our tactics from the off were completely just so negative. It looked like we had no game plan. I think teams are starting to read this now, the same formation all the time. So if they close us down, we panic and we just boot the ball. And I think having Keenan up there in the first half, it was brutal on him because he just had no one with him.
I totally agree. And despite remaining defensively organised, Villa offered little threat when it comes to the attacking side of things. So, and the drinks break coming in the first half, halfway through, came at the right time. When Smith was talking to his players, he looked really animated. Neil, what do you think he said to his players? Because again, he looked animated. He's talking to various positional players and trying to spur them on, and consequently did work with the goal. But what do you think he exactly said to them?
I don't know. It could have been a case of, that he was very much saying, you got to keep doing what we're doing, guys. Delighted to see what's the shape that you guys are holding up, and this is what we worked on the training ground and so on and so forth. I think it was probably more to do with the two wingers. He moved El Ghazi and he moved Jack in the first half. He swapped the two of them over there. Like it's clear for everyone to see that you'll get so much out of El Ghazi before he kind of drops the head or he doesn't track back far enough. And we saw that for the first goal. I thought he was clearly a fault. He didn't track Pulisic for the first goal. I think maybe it might have been something to do with that because midfield played well. Douglas Luiz, literally in the first half, Douglas Luiz didn't step on the wrong blade of grass. He was unbelievable. And I tweeted out halfway through, or just at the half time, I said, I'm actually disappointed that I didn't record the game so that I could go back and watch how Douglas Luiz gave an exhibition of protecting the front two, but also being able to play the ball out of be also to take the ball, should I say, at the edge of our box. But I don't quite know what it was. I would imagine it must have been the amount of crosses we were allowing into the box. It must have been about our two wingers because he did swap Jack and Amar El Ghazi pretty sharpishly. I think he might have actually just done it beforehand. I think maybe that's what he was talking about to try and nullify the attack because Willian was picking the ball up in midfield and he was coming to our right-hand side in the first half, which was really strange and something I couldn't really figure out. They attacked more down our right-hand side in the first half, yet in the second half, they absolutely bombarded a target on our left-hand side in the second half. So it was the strange one, but that's the only real thing I could think of. Maybe the other thing was that we weren't getting close to Keenan Davis. I think it would have been an easy thing to spot. I would hope that that's what he mentioned in the little huddle that they had, but it came at the right time. And after that drinks break, we actually showed a small bit of fight for 20 minutes and got our goal.
Let's talk about the goal then. So in my opinion, if Villa were going to score, their best chances would probably come from set pieces. And the goal came as a result of that, with Luiz instinctively crossing the ball in, first chance being saved, but Hawes targeting that ball into the net. But realistically, Jacob, it came out the blue, didn't it?
Massively. I expected us to be a couple of goals down by half time, really. They had a few chances just before we scored. So, but we've done it a few times this season where we've gone 1-0 up against big teams, like when we went up against Arsenal, Man United, even Spurs at the start of the season. Twice Spurs, Liverpool. So we've done it so many times this season. It just seems like we crumble, and we're always conceding two really quickly. If we concede one, it's almost guaranteed that we're going to concede another. So I don't know what the mentality is about that, but I think that was the only way we were going to score today, a set piece. Because going forward, we didn't get out wide enough. We didn't get behind the fullbacks at all. Yeah. So,
talk about that mentality as well. I know we're playing big sides, but the position that we are and the likelihood that we're going to get relegated becoming even more likely. Do you believe that when we're playing these big teams, we shouldn't really hold back and we should potentially, when on the ball, we should strike more and try and create some more attacking threat? Do you believe that should be the case, Jacob?
Yeah, massively. We've got the players to do it really as well. I think Luiz is brilliant going forward. I think if anything, he should be getting further up the pitch more so than maybe Connor sometimes. But it just, I just don't understand our thought process going into it, because I think Jack's got to play through the centre sometimes as well. I think he makes such a difference in the centre.
Agreed.
It opens it up out wide then. Otherwise, if our main threat's out wide, they're just going to put 2 on him every time. So I think having him in the middle opens up the game massively for us. So I just wish we'd go for it, and I hope we go 2 up top against Newcastle.
I agree.
Because after their result today, I'm worried about it, and I think if we do lose that game, then I think our chances are just non-existent of staying up, really.
So let's talk about the 2 goals that Chelsea scored in quick succession. We came out the blocks. Chelsea looked really animated and energised, and Villa, after scoring that goal before half-time, looked more confident. But those 2 goals, sort of, Neil, especially for the second one, was as a result of complacency from the defence. Do you not believe?
I actually don't. I think that what happened there as well, and I just literally before I popped on, I just kind of went back to see it again. I firmly believe that both of those goals were due to El Ghazi not tracking back. Now, I could be wrong with the second one, definitely the first one, but my initial thought was that the ball gets out to their left winger, and Douglas Luiz, as I mentioned, was having a very good game, kind of patrolling the D on the edge of the area and between there and the penalty box. He was in the penalty spot. He was picking up a lot of the ball that was breaking off the defenders, off the 2 centre halves, which is something that we've been losing an awful lot this year. He was drawn out of position because there was no winger coming back to track back to defend the cross. There wasn't any there. Konza was in the right position as well, and Luiz had to make a run for it, which meant that Conor Horan had to come across as well. And ultimately, Giroud's shot wasn't great. It wasn't very powerful. No. It was he snapped at it. He snatched at it. It took a ricochet off Conor Horan, and it flat-footed Nyland. So for me, it was pretty lucky in the way that it went in. But I think both of their goals were pretty lucky. Pulisic hits a ball in a half volley, and to be honest with you, if he does it another 7,000 times, he probably gets 2 goals from it. It just hit the crossbar and goes in. It was mental frailties, is what it was, and both of them came from our wingers now tracking back. There's only so much. The way the team was set up, it was 9 men behind the ball, and if you've got 8 men behind the ball, and you have that structure on the edge of the box with Douglas Luiz and with Conor Horan there. And if your winger doesn't track back far enough, or he isn't back where he should be, it pulls everybody forward. And you could see that this team went out there today they went out there not to lose. So they were happy enough with a draw. When we got our goal, I could understand that we didn't bomb forward and try and get a second one. You know, if we can hold them, it would be a momentous victory. But when things go wrong like that, and when we conceded the second goal, you can't just flick the switch and decide you're going to start becoming an attacking Barcelona team again. You are Stoke, Tony Pulis Stoke. If you go out in the field and you're in that mentality, you can't just turn it around. You know, and that's the risk you run with starting off with that mentality. And I you know what? I don't disagree with Smith starting off with that mentality, because you got to remember as well, goal difference is going to be superbly important at the end of the year. We're 1 point off safety, but we've got -6 goals now on West Ham. So do we go 2 up top and maybe end up losing the game 4-1, 5-1? And then we're almost double digits goals down. So, you know, I can understand, and this is me playing devil's advocate and maybe being overly positive, but I can understand why we don't go 2 up top at the drop of a hat. And I can understand why we play 9 behind the ball and try and nick the goal, because it works sometimes. And we only need one win to kind of catapult us up the league. And I think that was Dean Smith's thought process. And look, it nearly happened. And look, I know nearly never won a race, but it nearly happened, and only for Villa being Aston Villa and conceding 2 in 3 minutes, we could be having a completely different conversation here.
Talking about that defensive mentality then, do you agree with Jacob in the fact that we potentially need to start Grealish in the centre?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think we need to start Grealish in the centre. He went in there for the last, when Hata came on for the last 6 minutes, he went in there and he won 3 fouls. He was fouled 3 times, I think, by N'Golo Kante. Now, whoever called in from the sideline and told Trezeguet to take a shot for that last free kick deserves a boot in the side of the head. But I just can't fathom that whatsoever. But like we won,
Training ground stuff.
and that's what,
Yes.
yeah. That's what Kante does for you, you know. Imagine if Grealish is in the centre, maybe from the 50th minute or the 60th minute, and once we weather the storm before maybe they made their substitutions, we move Grealish in there into the centre, and we get somebody running at them with Samatta up front. It could have been different if that was the case, because Kante would have started fouling earlier. Maybe he would have got his yellow card earlier. Maybe he can't put his hands on Grealish because that's all he was doing, was dragging him down. And look, we've got a lot of people sent off this year because Grealish has been running at them. So might as well start doing it from central positions, because we're not getting any joy out on the left. They figured out how to curtail Grealish on the left. So I'm all for playing him in the centre.
Going forward to Newcastle away, Jacob, you're talking about your worries for that game. What do you predict following, of course, Sheffield United losing to Newcastle 3-0 today?
Well, I think that result makes me more nervous that they've turned over Sheffield United. I know Sheffield United had a few mistakes in them anyway, but I just worry for us. And I agree about the 2 up top. We have got to be careful of goal difference massively, because obviously it's gonna be important at the end. But I think if we're gonna go for it, I'd probably go for it against Newcastle, because I feel like that's a must win. When you look at our fixtures going forward, I don't see where many wins are going to come. I think we'll probably ship a few goals against Liverpool and teams like that. So I think we've got to go for it against Newcastle. I think it's now or never, really. It feels like I think we have to win it. But I'm still it's weird. No matter how many times we lose, I still feel confident that we can always grab something. No matter what the team is, but I think we could get a win. I'm hopeful of it anyway. I think that's what we need. But again, I'd take a point. But I think if we could get a win, I think it could kick us off, hopefully, because a few wins now could literally change it all for us completely.
Neil, what would your ideal starting lineup be for that Newcastle game?
Interesting. I think it is the game of the first 3 games. It is the game that I suppose everybody would have earmarked of, let's get 3 points here and see what we can get from the other 2. I didn't expect us to win against Sheffield United. I hoped we would win against Sheffield United. I certainly didn't expect it, because you just don't know what way the teams are going to be. Like, both teams came out of that game and they both had the handbrake still on. You know, they were very, very kind of static, and it was just one of those games. And it was one of those games we could have won. We should have probably scored 2 from corners, at least in that game. But then we go into a game like this today, which everybody knew was going to be tough. And I think it's the desperation that kind of makes people think that we should have performed better in a game like that, like that today. Chelsea have a habit of turning us over on big scorelines. You know, 8-0s.
8-0, yeah.
Like, I'll never forget that 8-0, you know.
Yeah.
No, that's not saying that I'm happy to lose 2-1. I think that I'm absolutely distraught in the manner that we lost. But to play the 11 that we would play, God, it's very difficult. I think I like to sleep on it, but I wouldn't be adverse to playing Davis and Samatta together now, whether you actually play them in a 2 up front against Man City. I go back to this, and I mentioned it to Paddy on our own podcast, and Davis played as a right winger against Man City. When he came on, he did a lot of damage with that ball, because Tyrone Mings, when he plays the ball up forward, he kind of plays it in such a way that it doesn't really go central all the time. You know, he plays it kind of down the wing. He plays it to kind of the edge of the box. And why not have maybe 2 people flanking Samatta, like maybe El-Ghazi, even though I've spent my time kind of slating him here, and he isn't my favourite player just because of his defensive ability. But if we are going to go for it, I think you need to have him in there. Maybe you've got El-Ghazi one wing, you've got Davis on the other, and I know that might sound strange to people, but he isn't bad with the ball at his feet. He's a powerful, powerful man. And then you play Samatta up front. in a more central role, get him running in around the centre halves like he did against Spurs in a game that we should have won when Son got that whirly.
Still hurts.
And see what way it goes. Oh, that definitely still hurts. I play the front three maybe like that. Middle three, I don't know. I couldn't guess. Grealish, Douglas Luiz, and another. I don't think I'd start McGinn. If we are playing only three in there, maybe I don't know. Maybe Nakamba comes in. Just to add a small bit of freshness in there, but I'm not 100% certain on him. And I don't change the back four unless Freddie Gilbert is fit. I don't change the back four because Courtney House, for all the pelters he gets on Twitter, hasn't put a foot wrong. Mings hasn't. Mings has probably done more wrong than Courtney House. He's kicked the ball off the back of strikers a couple of times and put a bit of heart and mouth stuff. Konsa hasn't been bad, and Matt Targett is probably our most improved player since before Christmas, even with the break in play. So, I don't think our back four have been massively at fault, and I really don't care who he plays in goals at this stage. I think Nyland has probably redeemed himself today, but it could have been different if that shot in the first half that he decided to parry almost into the net went a different way. But yeah, it'll be an interesting team selection. Yeah, and I'm of the opinion, same as Jacob. Go for it. I think we should maybe start off and go for it, and then pull everybody off. And then it's easier to go from an attacking to a defensive mentality. It's very difficult to shift through the gears and go the opposite way.
Finally, Jacob, from the Sheffield United game and today's performance alone, do you believe you have the ability to stay up?
I think the ability is there. I think we've actually got a pretty decent team. It just seems like we can't seem to get it together. I also think if Gilbert comes back for that Newcastle game, that probably changes it a little bit. Yeah. I think we've missed him a little. I think it hurts us having a left footer on the right sometimes as well. But it's getting results. I think we've actually got quite a decent team. But I do agree with Neil with the wingers. If it's either Algazi or Trezeguet, they never seem to get back that much. Trezeguet often gets back a bit more than Algazi, but I don't know. I think if we win against Newcastle, it changes the mood differently. But at the moment, it just seems like the fans are quite negative, and it's just seeing where that win or even points going to come from after that Newcastle game. I think that's where people are going to really start to get concerned.
Well, what are your thoughts after today's game? I really appreciate it if you're able to comment them down below. And what are your predictions for the Newcastle game? Thanks to Neil and Jacob for coming on. Really appreciate it, guys.
No worries, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please subscribe if you haven't already and like today's video. And hopefully we'll see you all again soon. Up the Villa.